Much for your time this morning. This is KTN News and my name is Zinzi Kibiku. For the next 2 hours, we'll both entertain you and keep you informed. Thank you so much for your time. Let us quickly jump straight into the stories of the day before we also take a look at stories making headlines in the local dailies. Now, 2 days after the tragedy in former of raging waters from a bust bank that swept through 2 villages, and the nightmare for many of the residents of Solai in Nakuru County is apparently far from over, even as the death toll continues to rise, with whereabouts of more still yet unknown. Now, KTN's Otieno visited the area and tells us the story of those who survived the ordeal and the heartbreak of many more yet to be reunited with their loved ones.
It's been a rough 2 days for the residents of Energy and Nyakinywa villages in Solai, Nakuru County. And as the clouds quickly gather for yet another downpour, so do the people, brought together by a tragedy of epic proportion that has seen at least 45 people dead and many more unaccounted for.
Uzuni ule tuko naye hapa ni watu wetu kuzobo na maji.
Nimeshangaa sana wakati nimekuja nikakuta manyumba makubwa ilikuwa pande hii na kijiji mzima yenye ilikuwa pande hii.
Amidst the group of both shocked and saddened individuals stands Ruth Wangoi. She knows she's lucky to be alive. When the raging waters began flowing downstream, she quickly whisked herself and her 3 children to safety.
Mimi nilitoka tu venye nilikuwa. Tukakimbia mbio. Tulienda mpaka pale hivi. Nikateremka hivi na barabara, kufika pale barabara nikafuka barabara, bado maji ilikuwa inanifuata hivi.
But Ruth is among an estimated 3,000 people rendered homeless by the waters of the Patel Dam. Her house was swept away Thursday night. And even though now men have begun the process of rebuilding the village, many still have to spend the cold nights at the nearby Solai Secondary School, where a camp has since been established by the local leadership.
It's really hard to imagine that nearly an entire village would be wiped out because of the gushing waters emanating from atop that hill. But unfortunately for the residents of both Energy and Nyakinywa village, that indeed has been the reality. But for those lucky enough to survive the ordeal, the treacherous task of finding their loved ones, either dead or alive, now begins.
Habari ya Masai. Saizi janga yenyewe zimetustua.
58-year-old Ibrahim Njogu has been searching for his 75-year-old uncle, Joseph Kamutu, whose phone went off immediately following the news of the incident.
Niko 50-50.
Njogu is told by the residents here that his uncle was last seen a few minutes past 7:30 p.m. on Thursday night, alighting from a motorcycle. No one has seen him since.
Unajua nitakapomtafuta hapa nisikia kwamba hapatikani, nitaenda mpaka kwa Jack. Ndio niangalie kwa mochari ama nitampata. Sasa nisipompata ndio nitakuja nijue viongozi ambao wenye wako hapa wanasema namna gani.
When we met Njogu, he tells us he had spent nearly 7 hours looking for his kin. And by the time we left him, he promised not to give up the search. We parted ways just as the silent village began coming to terms with what happened here. And as the rains began pounding the area, the younger generation played on, oblivious that this place may never be the same again, even as the adults contemplate their next course of action and the numerous burial ceremonies ahead of them. Otieno, KTN News.
Meanwhile, the death toll in Solai Dam tragedy has now risen to 49. This was after one body of a boy recovered yesterday morning in a downstream side of Solai. This came as many families visited the mortuary to identify their loved ones. At least 350 people who are displaced are continuing to receive aid at Solai Boys High School. A multi-agency team appointed yesterday continued to assess the integrity of the dams. Several leaders, among them Baringo Senator Gideon Moig and KANU Secretary General Nick Salat, visited the area to condole with the families.
One of the bill, mshikanie pamoja. Okay.
We had increased the number of personnel to go down to assist the KDF. We got about 60 members from the National Youth Service so that they could assist the team that has been on for the last 2 days. And they commenced around 6:30 a.m. today. Up to 10, they hadn't recovered anything, but around 10, they recovered the body of a boy, which has already been processed and taken to the mortuary. So as at now, as we talk, the total figure has risen by 1.
And we hope and pray that this strategy, nothing will not be left out in the preparedness, in the future preparedness of our people and our administration and our national disaster team. It's very, very important that we learn from this. It's very important that we take heed on what has happened and we become extremely serious in that if a disaster, God forbid, happens like this again, we'll be absolutely ready for it.
Kenya joins the list of 12 countries that have launched its home-designed satellite. University of Nairobi yesterday deployed Kenya's Pioneer satellite into the orbit from the Japan Space Agency in Tokyo, Japan. The satellite was deployed or rather developed through a program known as Kibo Cube, launched in September 2015 by the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs and the Japanese Space Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed, who was present during the launch of the satellite, thanked the key stakeholders in the project and say that it is one of the biggest steps that Kenya could make in nanotechnology.
This is the first satellite that we have deployed today. It's a cube. I think for the moment, what we expect would be information that would be coming in that would not be as accurate and as clear as the information that we expect to get after we have a constellation of satellites.
Now, Ford Kenya Party has rubbished the push for a referendum, with party leader Moses Wetangula saying that it was only meant to create positions for some individuals. Wetangula said that the country should prioritize ways of reforming the troubled Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission instead of creating new positions. He was addressing the media in Gilgil ahead of Ford Kenya Parliamentary Group meeting yesterday.
Our party has no difficulties whatsoever in the country going to referendum. Our party will, however, resist any attempts to engineer a referendum that appears to create and insulate interests of individuals and families. Our party wants to see a united Kenya. Our party needs to see the expansion of the restrictive structures in the current constitution. Our party wants to see devolution strengthened by sending more money to the devolved units. Our party wants to see the institutions of governance in the country that have to take care of the war against corruption, pilfering, and theft of public resources.
Still on local politics, the Orange Democratic Party movement party leader Raila Odinga yesterday held talks with leaders of the Jema Nairobi business community. Raila Odinga was accompanied by NASA strategist Dr. David Ndii, lawyer Paul Mwangi, and legislator TJ Kajwang and Jared Okello, while the Jema community was led by Nairobi business community chairman Wilfred Kamau. The closed-door meeting lasted 2 hours. After the meeting, Raila Odinga did not talk to the media, but asked MPs TJ Kajwang and Jared Okello to brief journalists on their deliberations.
And I've agreed that very soon, after the committee that has been given the mandate to spearhead the handshake to the grassroots, that we shall get involved from the ward level to the constituency level up to the county levels of all the counties in the country.
When we talk about building bridges, we are not talking about politics of 2022. We are talking about how we get a firm foundation for our future. We have reflected on the past, and now it is the time to build our future as one people.
We are determined to move across this country with a similar message that we have to bridge, spread the gospel of bridging peace initiative all across this nation, spearheaded by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta and His Excellency Raila Odinga. We do hope that with this country is going to achieve and get a rapid flight towards its economic, social, and political progress.
Miguna's second coming. It appears the stage is set for yet another showdown between outspoken advocate Miguna and the government as he plans to make a second coming attempt. The Department of Immigration has failed to respond to a letter from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, which is demanding that the government adheres to the 3 court orders facilitating Miguna's entry. KTN's Duncan Haemba has also found out that the High Court advocate Nelson Harvey has withdrawn from Miguna's legal team.
I'm not boarding.
His first attempt to return to Kenya on 28th March was noisy, messy, and had casualties as well. Members of the media.
We are doing our job. Do not push him, sir. You are being...
The mission aborted, and now the firebrand Canada-based attorney Joshua Miguna has announced his second coming on May 16th amid a standoff between the government and the independent Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. The Department of Immigration appears to have declined to respond to a demand letter from the Commission, signs that the second coming may be a futile exercise. In that letter dated May 5th, the Commission's chair Kagwiri Mbogori needed the department to issue Miguna with a valid Kenyan passport, purchase a flight ticket for him from Toronto, Canada to Nairobi, and lastly, facilitate the Commission's access to the Immigration and Customs Clearance area at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to observe and monitor Miguna's return.
We should be protected because of the kind of violence that the police meted upon us the last time we were there. But so far, no response.
Sources in government say there will be no softening of position and that the same procedure will be expected to be followed by Miguna upon his arrival.
Our status at this particular moment is still as it was earlier on. That he is a Kenyan, we believe he's a Kenyan, the orders are still there.
In Canada, the outspoken advocate Joshua Miguna says he is preparing for his second coming. Here in Nairobi, the ministry responsible remains tight-lipped. Will his second coming be noisy, chaotic, and dramatic, or will it be that smooth? Duncan Haemba, KTN News.
Interesting. So the Ministry of Health in conjunction with Tourism Ministry have now allayed any fears of Ebola outbreak in Kenya, speaking when they surveyed Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on screening of passengers in and out of the country. Health CS Cecilia Kariuki and her tourism counterpart Najib Balala maintained there is no case of Ebola in the country and that mitigation measures have been strengthened to contain any suspected cases. This comes just days after health officials in the DRC and World Health Organization reported a new outbreak of Ebola in northeast western part of the country near Brazzaville.
We have also strengthened routine screening in Busia, Malaba, Namanga, Wilson Airport, as well as all other entry points into the country, totaling 43. In all these places, the Ministry of Health has installed the following: one, an electronic thermal screener or screeners where we need to have more than one. We have also brought in handgun thermal scanners. We also have brought in other support systems, including deployment of 101 health workers.
I want to appeal to the international media. There is no Ebola in Africa. There is Ebola in an isolated area in the remote area of DRC, and WHO and the government of DRC are containing it.
First Lady Margaret Kenyatta has called for more efforts to ensure that the girl child has more opportunities in education. Ms. Kenyatta spoke during the commission of Shofkora, that is School for Girls in Nairobi's Kibera area. The school began in 2009 and has replicated the same model in other informal settlements such as Kawangware, Mathare, Mukuru and Bangladesh.
Parents and students and all who wish them well have wanted a place in which our daughters could study and make the most of their talents. Today, we are here to commission that place and to celebrate this opportunity to transform the lives of our daughters. The institution.
In other news, police have gunned down a suspected criminal in Jericho Estate, Nairobi, whom they say was one of the most wanted. A revolver and 3 rounds of ammunition were recovered from the slain suspect who had been put in the wanted list. Now, the suspect was shot dead in Jericho and was believed to be behind a spate of criminal activities in the area.
Those gangsters, and very broadly, engaged our officers, and our officers responded very positively and managed to get up with one of them. It's a young boy of about 22 years, and the rest 3 escaped within the slum around that area. That's Kiambio. We are still pursuing them.
And in the world of business, the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, now says that it will collect an addition of 200 billion Kenyan shillings in 5 years from spirits following the introduction of the Accessible Goods Management System. The fund, which would have been lost, will be collected through excise stamp duties, which target spirits, wines and tobacco products. According to the authority, the introduction of the system in 2013 had been excise duty collected from spirits triple. This emerged when KRA officials led delegates from different countries across the world visiting Naivasha-based Kericho breweries, which has enrolled this management system.
It's been quite enlightening because back home in Zambia we are still using the paper tax stamps that are not so highly digitized. We don't have any of the factories that produce beer or spirits that have directly linked to the Revenue Authority for monitoring the production levels. Yeah, so this is actually going to add a lot of value to us.
some of our Kenyans killed and others blinded by taking alcohol that has been produced in systems that are not very safe. So we believe that the systems that KRA are now putting in place is going to minimize and eliminate this problem completely. But more importantly for the government, that as these systems are being rolled out across the country to every manufacturer of alcoholic beverages, the government can optimize it and maximize its revenue.
When you produce any excisable products, and if the same products are counterfeited, which means they bear very critical resemblance with the legitimate products, what then would happen is that it is very difficult for anybody in the market to identify. And enforcement also becomes a challenge because the enforcement agencies are not enabled to identify and interdict those products from the market.
Now, in a continued 2-year spring of woes for tobacco company British American Tobacco, the company reported a drop in profit before taxation by around 1 million Kenyan shillings, representing an 18% decline previously. This, the company said, was attributed to a combination of unfavorable regulation coupled with a tough business environment.
The effects of the 50% excise increase in December 2015, which led to the unprecedented price increases for our affected products, continues to be felt by our consumers. The Excise Act of March 2017 introduced, among other measures, a disproportionate and unjustifiable 87% increase in the cost of each tax stamp. This has added over 160 million Kenyan shillings to the cost of doing business in Kenya.
We must also recognize that 2017 was a very unique year, and because of the long period of electioneering which affected the business and the huge hike of the excise, all that when you take into consideration, then the cash flows didn't come through as we expected.
Private sector efforts to diversify Kenya's tourist offering continues in an effort to create resilience for the industry in the face of consistent hiccups from politics and other unforeseen events. Parts of these efforts have seen the creation of products which build on the traditional bush and beach tourism offering. The latest in this trend is the official launch of the Hemingway's Watamu Residency and Hotel after a year-long revamp exercise that will see the company offer a more inclusive Watamu experience, beside creating a more family-friendly and longer-stay destination, coupled with what they say is a cutting-edge holiday experience.
We saw a problem in Watamu which was a global problem, and that is plastic pollution. That is plastic in our oceans. Any beach in the world today, you will go and find plastic on the beach. What we did, we joined forces with Hemingway's, the hotels, we started cleaning our beaches, we set up community beach cleaning teams, and we turned that then into a business enterprise and started recycling that plastic waste.
For us as a tourism board, the success of our marketing activities are highly reliant on the development of quality products and services by the product owners. So a development like this definitely creates a fresh and good new look for that region, and it helps it to maintain its relevance in the area.
Kenya tourism sector is emerging from the effects of negative publicity sparked by the security concern at the coast and some part of the country. I appeal to all Kenyans media and all Kenyans to adopt a patriotic home-first approach to present Kenya to the world.
Shareholders and depositors of deregistered SACCOs will not lose their money and will be protected if their SACCOs are liquidated. This is even after the government moves to operationalize the SACCO Deposit Protection Fund, which though already has provision of the law, is yet to become a reality. This is according to their Commissioner of Cooperatives, who was addressing cooperative leaders at the All Saints Cathedral here in Nairobi during the launch of Ushirika Day celebration. Pre-activities. Now, this year's worldwide day celebrations will be held on July 7th after the blood donation and tree planting exercise.
The people who had, or rather one like Metropolitan,
is one of the people being considered by the receiver manager, so that whenever the liquidation takes effect or whatever happens, they will recoup some of their money. But that is a big challenge, which really, as a country, we need to think when we are mismanaging our institution, what does it mean? We think it is the owners. It's not the owners. It even affects the small man.
We have a deposit fund, which is not operational but is provided for in law. So once that is in place, it will be able to cushion the members if a circle fails. Just the same as the one we have for Central Bank. It's not in operational, but it's provided for in the law. They are in the process of setting it up.
So following the incidences of expensive electricity tariffs across the country and the fact that electricity connections remains out of reach for a majority of Kenyans, some counties have decided to take matters into their own hands. In the county of Nyandarua Gatim Ward, MCA John Wambui has moved a motion to the county assembly seeking an establishment of a county government energy entity. Now the House resolved that the agency will be put in place to deal with matters of electricity regulation as a function, which will be a suitable strategy to confront the challenges of high electricity tariffs and the low electricity regulation in the county.
Let the county government of Nyandarua follow the law, institute an agency or an organ that will deal with matters energy, and they come up with probable ways, Mr. Speaker, of addressing the matter. I know the Committee for Transport, Energy and Roads, Mr. Speaker, are equal to the task. And that is why we are moving this motion, so that they can sit together with the minister concerned. It does not matter which office they will need to knock, whether it is the office of the president or the deputy president, but they will knock the relevant office to make sure that Wajiko of Nyandarua will not complain about power in the next 5 years, Mr. Speaker.
To a different county now, the controversy surrounding control of Watamu boat operator funds continues to unfold. The Association of Boat Owners, which is in dispute with another group of management cohesion funds deducted from the marine parking fee, wants the Kenyan Wildlife Service to intervene and resolve the dispute to enable more than 5 million Kenyan shillings being held by the authorities released. The Watamu Exclusion Marine Association, WEMA, which has dispute with the Watamu Association of Boat Operators, WABO, both dealing with boat exclusion, said that they want the funds to be released on condition that it benefits the community.
Tukubaliane kwamba mfuko urudi, lakini uwe na transparency mfuko huo. Na mfuko huo ambao umetumika karibu miaka 4 ambao iliyopita ni mfuko ambao ni wa community wa kufaidisha watu wa Watamu. Lakini mfuko huu alikuwa kwa kufaidishi watu wa Watamu, alikuwa ni mfuko wa kufaidisha watu wenyewe binafsi.
Tushirikiane ili swala lifaidishe community nzima, ili kila mmoja awe anafaidika na mfuko huu. Pia kuwe na uwazi. Na sisi kuteta na wao ni kwa sababu mfuko umefungwa, kwa sababu wao wenzetu hawako na uwazi. Hawana uwazi wana chochote, kwa sababu wanakusanya pesa zile na kufaidisha matumbo yao na binafsi zao na kwa watakao wao. Lakini kwa upande wa community na sisi boat operators wa upande wengine kama sisi wa WEMA wanatubagua, na sio halali, ambapo sisi tunachangia mfuko mkubwa zaidi hata kuliko wao.
Tunalalamika Watamu, tunalalamika na kwa Watamu nzima tunalalamika. Tumejenga misikiti, tumeweka majenereta ndani ya misikiti, na tunajaribu kusomesha watoto wetu kama kutoa kama basari, na tuna ambalesi tukua kwa sababu ya community akiwa mgonjwa ama mtoto yote atakayeumia apeleke hospitali, lakini hayo yote hayafikiri.
All right, so we want to take a quick and our very first commercial break here on Weekend Express. But when we come back, I hope that you have your Standard as well as the Daily Nation, because we're going to be taking a look at some of the top stories making headlines, and Julie Masige is here. We'll be right back right after this commercial break. Stay with us.